We're live.
Good night. Today is Thursday, April 19, 2018. Good night to our viewers and PEP members. Welcome to Frontline. My name is Janice Leamonda Creaky, and I'm the Public Relations Officer of the Progressive Empowerment Party. And my co-host tonight is Felicia Holder, Chairperson of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Tonight, we are going to discuss the issues that pertain to food production. Our guest is Derek Lorenzen. Derek is a farmer and would be considered a man of the soil. But before we get started with Derek, I'd like to read an article, which I normally do, to open the topic. The title of the article is called "Farmers Must Defend Their Living." This was published on January 6th of December 2017. So it's a very recent article. Family farming withering. Agriculture is one of the key diversifying industries in Trinidad and Tobago, yet the sector remains critically underdeveloped. It contributes less than 0.5% to the country's gross domestic product and employs just about 4% of the population. But creating a sustainable sector is fundamentally to protecting the country's food security, or at least reducing the food import bill. Trinidad and Tobago imports over $5 billion of its food and exports about $900 million. Although the exact balance of trade is skewed, since incorporated in the food import bill are raw materials for the agro-processing industries. In the last 3 decades, agriculture contributes to the local economy peaked in 1985, 3%, and bottomed out in 2007 when it was less than 0.4% of GDP. It's been rising incrementally since then. Agriculture, though, still suffers from a lack of commitment. Young people in particular seem to be looking for greener pastures that don't actually require cultivation. The Caribbean has long had a history of monoculture and plantation agriculture, but in rural communities, farms have traditionally been for subsistence and often run by families. As the society evolves, this way of life is being outpaced and fast becoming obsolete. The number of family farms are declining, but not necessarily because of a lack of interest in the profession of food production. The challenges simply outweigh the benefit. This is a comment that was made by agricultural economist Omadath Miraj. The average farming family has had to adjust to everyday life, education, and other dreams and aspirations in keeping with trends in social mobility, including occupational and geographical shifts. Our current lifestyles are marked by utility bills, loan commitments, and other timelines which a complete reliance on smaller scale agriculture would not afford, he further said. A recent report by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in agriculture, on family farming in the Caribbean says, although agriculture is viewed as one of the sectors that can strengthen the integration process and migrate adverse social, economic, and environmental impacts of climate change in the region, very little or no attention has been paid to understanding and supporting family farms in the region. In CARICOM nations especially, IICA found the many shortcomings included: 1. A lack of institutional framework designed to guide the development of family farms. 2. A lack of appreciation and the undervaluing of the contribution of family farms by society and the governments. 3. Weak and uncoordinated economic, technological, social, and environmental policies supporting family farm development. 4. Lack of public policies to encourage youth and women to remain and work in rural areas. IICA suggested policies in the Caribbean need to be linked to family ownership, succession planning, and farming commitment. In Trinidad, settling outstanding state land tenure claims, a pivotal requirement in guaranteeing legitimacy is the Ministry of Agriculture's primary focus, but with 2,000 files still to be processed, some dating from as far back as 1946, family farmers often remain limbo regardless of their desire to farm.
There was actually 20,000.
Yeah.
20,000, not 2,000.
Right, 20,000
I thought
files.
2,000 was bad.
Mm-hmm. It is important to consider multiple and differentiated markets and demand points, for example, replacement of imports, organic agricultural production, tourism, high-value agricultural production, and production for the West Indian diaspora. There is also a need for continued consumption and nutrition policy approaches that encourage families in the Caribbean to eat and drink locally, as well as integrated social and economic planning that promotes simultaneous policies for health, education, and agriculture, the report stated. The conversation must, however, begin with a clear understanding and definition of family farming in the local context. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, it broadly refers to all related activities which is managed and operated by a family and predominantly reliant on family labor, including both men and women. Now, I'm not going to continue to read the whole article, but this is an article that I found on the Trinidad and Tobago News blog, and it was put there by the Food and Fuel Forum. Now, with respect to our topic, Derek, first question I would like to ask you is, how did you get into farming?
Okay, well, first of all, while I was going to school, in even junior sec, senior sec, I used to spend all my holidays by my classmates, two of my special classmates, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was up in Piparo.
Okay.
And they were into farming, into agriculture in a big way. They had a lot of citrus farms, fruit trees, and being around there, you know, from my youth, growing up in that, going there and spending all my holidays, my Christmas holidays, all my vacations I spent in Piparo on this farm.
Okay.
So from a little boy growing up with them, you know, I began to see this as something that I would like to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see food production, when a person can feed himself, he doesn't have to be dependent on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that is where at that point I started to look at farming from my school days. As I said in one of my videos, that in my junior secondary schooling, I passed every single of my agriculture tests, okay, right, in the 97-98%. Okay. Right, and I had applied to do agriculture in senior comprehensive, but for some other reason, or I don't know for what reason, they gave me business studies to do, okay, and that just threw me back.
Wow.
Right, so after that, I dropped out. Well, I came out of school, mm-hmm, then go back to farming directly back. Right, because after I married in 22 years ago, right, I moved to Barapur and I started my own farming. Okay. I started to plant my in-laws, they have land, 6 acres of land. Mm-hmm. So we started to develop the land. I told them, I said, well, cane, they done away with cane. So we started to do fine crops, things like sweet peppers, pimentos, and these things. But one of the problems that we have in Barrackpore especially is the situation of pre-larcenies. Because you will plant your crops, you will mow your crops, you will spray your crops, and today you will say, okay, tomorrow I'm coming to reap my crop. And when you get up in the morning to go in your garden, everything is gone.
Clear out. Wow.
Yeah.
That is rough.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful story about how
Yeah.
you came to.
And the worst part about it, if they come and they just pick the fruit off of the trees. Now look like, for example, like tomatoes. The first bearing of tomatoes, the bearing will be big, the tomatoes will be. After the second bearing, they will keep on dropping. But you will still get some form of income.
Yeah.
But what some of these thieves do, when they come, they're so busy that they're studying if the farmer will come and catch them on the land. So what they do, they root out the whole tomato plant, throw it in their farmer or their van or wherever they come with, and go with the whole tree. So when you get up in the morning, you will look at an acre land empty. You don't even have a sweet pepper tree or pimento tree or nothing on it. So you cannot say, well, okay, the thief this first bearing, I'll wait till the second bearing and I'll try at least to make back the money that I spend on my chemicals. So most of the people in Barrackpore right now, they're out of farming. Most of us, we are just going down and down, because when you call the police station and tell them about, well, look, your crops have been stolen, nobody does not.
They're not taking
Yeah, they're not taking that. They're not serious to them now.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it then that your family, what would you consider to be your family that help you with your farming?
My family, I mean.
Is it just you alone
No,
doing it right now?
my wife, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. Well, may God bless his soul, he passed away now. One of my brother-in-law.
Okay.
And we used to hire 1 or 2 laborers to help us out. You know, like when we have to do plenty of the mowing or whatever. But right now, everything that's going down and down. We can't even get chemicals in the agro shops, the right chemicals to spray your crops.
And this is your main source of income, right?
Well, right now it's a sideline because of how the agriculture sector has dropped so drastically in the past few years. You really, as a farmer, you really can't depend on farming right now in Trinidad and Tobago.
Because I was also about to ask, you know, besides calling the police, what other measures can you put in place to ensure?
The only measure that you could put in place to safeguard your crop, you have to build a shack in the farm itself and sleep there day and night.
Wow.
That is rough.
And then when you sleep in there, you might be sleeping in a hammock or a bunk, and somebody might just come and tap you on your shoulder, and when you wake up you see a big gun in your face.
Well, I was about to say that.
Yeah.
It's probably so dangerous. I mean, even if you scare away somebody, there's a chance that you can be harmed as well. So.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. I know one of my friends, he was a sheep farmer, he had about 70 head of sheep, and some people came down in his farm, tied him up, as we say, they call it a hog tie, tied him up, stabbed him up, and left him there to bleed to death. His sister came down early in the morning to check on him and found him like that. And nobody was arrested or anything for that. He closed down his farm after that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not very encouraging, is it?
No.
So let's go a little bit back to where you used to help out on your friend's farm.
Yeah.
Right? What would you say would be the biggest change you encountered during your farming years? So from that time to now, what are some of the changes that you would have noticed?
Well, the only changes I have noticed is that this aquaponics thing is taking over the farming, because with aquaponics you don't need 5 or 10 acres of land. You know, you have a lot of land or 2 lots of land, you can grow a lot of crop in a short space of time with aquaponics. So this is the thing that is really most of the people are going, because with aquaponics, as I say, you could plant it, you could do this aquaponics right in your backyard.
Correct.
You understand? So it's safe, it's more feasible.
Well, Derek, actually, one of the comments, and this is something that I want to get into more in the show, somebody just commented that you can set up perimeter alarms on the land
Yeah.
for when people trespass. Now, for me, I mean, for what you're explaining, I don't expect you to do this on your own. And just by the article that Janice was reading and what you were explaining, I mean, clearly there's not enough of a national investment into farming, because if that was the case, measures like this that this Gary just mentioned, which are first world measures, would have been implemented. Farmers would have known that they had the security of planting their crops, and they were safe because they had government assisted grants or assistance just to keep the bandits away. Because what you said earlier, what's the sense of having a farm and putting all your passion into it when somebody's going to come and reap it. Your hard labor. So
that's right.
Just something.
Now you know you have the hydroponics and you have the
aquaponics.
Right. So which one are you looking at, the hydro or the aqua?
I look at I am thinking about going into the aquaponics.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Because that seems to be a lot less work.
Yeah.
And you don't have to necessarily use chemicals.
Yeah.
But I think with the hydro, you still have to use chemicals.
A lot of chemicals, yeah.
Right. Now, what about, the whole thing now is that we're going organic.
Yeah.
So I guess too, the aqua would allow you to grow your food organically.
Yes.
Which is what a lot more people want, because people really are very skeptical when they hear that they are eating vegetables that are heavily sprayed, with pesticides. And I mean, it's not really good for you anyway. No. But that's something that's great. Now, perhaps the Ministry of Agriculture should be looking at aquaponics to encourage people to go back into farming.
Yes.
Because a lot of people have their backyards, and it is something that can be set up. And, at least, as you say, you don't have to be going out, to your acres and acres and finding. Yeah. And then, of course, if you're at home.
My neighbor runs one in his yard, in his backyard from next to me. And it is not even a big setup. And he was trying to explain it to me one day, and I keep grasping it and then losing the concept. But every time I hear it again, I go, that's what it does. But he has and is making an income from that small little setup that he has there. And even when Guido came on the show a couple of weeks ago, it's not that we don't have the good initiatives. That is one of the best, I would say, in terms of getting people involved in farming. It's just we're not seeing the effort being put and the investment being made into it.
Yeah.
Because right now, is there any grant that...
No, nothing. Nothing. Even now, a few years ago, when you would buy a waka or you would dig a pond on your land, if let me say you spend 100,000, they subsidize it, and you'll get back half of the money. No, you don't get back anything. If you taking a chance to dig a pond or buy a waka or buy a farmer, you're doing that at risk, knowing that 99% right now, there's a chance that you'll not get back a cent subsidy from the government.
Right.
Nothing.
The stats that you read were what? That less than 4% of the population is in
farming.
Less than
4%
of the GDP.
Of the GDP, our gross domestic product is from farming. And I saw somebody do a post the other day saying Trinidadians, we're so oblivious. World War III basically just started. Now, I mean, it has not been officially declared and stuff, but the person made a very important comment. The price of food is going to go up.
That's right.
In fact,
I think that it has started.
It
has started because on 104.7, there were one of the announcers was talking about the fact that a lime is $3.75, and it's like, what?
That is mind blowing, because I used to have a lime tree, and the idea of paying for a lime, much less $3 for a lime. I don't know.
But actually, 2 months ago, one lime was selling $5 in Marabella Market. One line.
goodness.
And a lemon, a rough skim lemon was selling for $8 and $10. One lemon.
And what causes that rise,
Spike.
that spike and fall? Like, at least locally, what causes that?
Well, I could say it's lack. If there are, I would say lack of the product. Lack of the product.
Rice.
Because if the product is in abundance, look like sometime for the year you'll pay $4 or $5 a pound of tomatoes, and then sometimes for the year you'll have to pay $15 to $18 for the same pound of tomatoes. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, usually when they have their floods, when we have
Yeah.
floods in Trinidad, you find the prices go
Go
up.
up. Yeah.
So imagine if we can set crop targets, so we will never be in a short supply. And there's some fruit that and vegetables that they grow all throughout the year.
Yeah.
Some of them, obviously, you will need to put some planning into it to make sure that it is available. But the fact that something like a lime could end up being $5,
$5.
and I could have sworn I saw it more expensive in
Yeah.
a certain grocery.
But who decides the price? Is it the farmer? How do you work out that one lime is going to cost you $5? Who makes that decision?
Well, actually, the farmer.
But I guess he would make that decision
Based
on
when
the
he
fact-
go to the wholesale market,
Yeah.
he will walk around and he will see what the imported goods are selling for, and he will sell for his goods at the same price.
Oh.
Because if a lime is imported from, let me say, Guyana or any Caribbean country, and it's reaching here and selling for $5 or $6 so on,
Yeah.
and I have a lime tree home, I'm going to maximize on that. I'm going to get $5 or $6 for one lime, so my lime is going to be the same price.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing, there's a very lax approach to, keeping the consumers and keeping price.
Price
Price
control.
control.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous actually to a point where, you could go in a grocery and see things climbing. And was it you, Janice, who were telling me that they stopped, a grocery stopped putting prices on these shelves because somebody was telling me that they stopped putting prices on certain items.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, when the price, so that people wouldn't be able to compare. So you just go to the grocery and you go to the cash and then you hear the price of the item.
Look at this next thing. When currently 1975 closed down, remember the government they started a program that they was giving the cane farmers one lot of land that is to build a house and 2 acres or 3 acres of land. You know what is going on right now with that situation? Most of the farmers, they are selling out the 2 acres. They are selling it out because there's nothing. You give people land, 2 acres of land, they're saying it's farmland, and it have no water, it have no lights, it have no roads to get to this land. So what is the sense? You understand what is the sense? So most of the people, they are selling out the acres of land. So I mean, some people even selling the residential lots.
What I was just about to ask, is that why we are seeing a spike in all those strip malls and stuff going up?
Yes.
Because
look, on my job up to 2 days ago, one of my co-workers was saying that one of his close friends have 2 acres of currently land that they was granted by the government, and he said he carried one of his friends to purchase the land from him.
Derek, one of the things that I remember with my drive to Barco, other than the bad roads.
Yeah.
Other than the bad roads, other than the bad roads, one thing I distinctly remember was the scenery and just how green and lush
Beautiful.
the greenery was, and I'm I don't plant or anything, but I like nature and I like trees and flowers and plants, and clearly the soil in Barco is some rich, fertile soil.
If you eat pawpaw
from Barco.
and you spit the seed on the ground in your yard, next 2 weeks you coming back to eat pawpaw. Our land is so fertile, anything you drop on the land, any seed, you don't have to dig the ground in it, just drop the seed there, it will grow. So fertile our land is, but nothing is being done.
Someone just said it's almost as if the government does not care about agriculture, which is true,
It's a
because if it is we had all of this fertile land, and that was a big topic this week in terms of food production and the price of a guava versus the price of an apple, and the fact that you could more readily access an apple in your grocery than a guava, and the fact that our breadfruit and sauerkraut and all these other things that grow so fertile here, why 0.04% of our GDP? Why isn't it higher? Why aren't we being encouraged? You said that you were given, and that's one of the things that immediately stuck with me. You was given business to study, and you see it happening all through the school system. It's like we're turning people away from agriculture. There's a stigma against it, and I honestly, if I was encouraged to that, I think I would have had my own little farm. I think so.
Well, I think that it is obvious that the ministry is not doing very much to encourage the farmers, because I find that, based on the fact that we are spending so much money, what was the figure again? $5 billion. $5 billion of food we import. Could you imagine if we were growing that food? That is, and selling it. That is an income to come into the country to help with the economy.
And that's a question that I have. Of that $5 billion, how many and how much of the things we are importing can be grown locally? I have a feeling it's
everything.
A bit.
I believe everything. The only thing can grow here is apple and grapes.
And then somebody proved them wrong and do that some years.
Some people have grapes.
Yeah,
vine,
some people have grapevines.
vine,
I remember I used to pick grapes.
One of the things too is the growing of legumes, which is like chana, the different types of peas, red beans, and so on. Somebody was saying that because we use so much of that, why is it that we are not growing it? And that's another question. Why has nobody sat down and thought, okay, we obviously there's a need for this. Why, what is it going to take if we were to start looking at that as a form of trying to build our food production?
Yeah.
And this is where the ministry should be proactive and thinking outside the box in terms of how we can get to grow our food.
Folks, just going to interject here. Don't forget to ask your questions on the live. I am looking at your comments while we are on the show here, so feel free to ask anything. We're here, Derek. Feel free to send your questions to Derek as well. Remember, he's a seasoned farmer, so he's here to answer any questions that you may have. Janice?
Yeah, another question I have is, okay, let's talk about the pre-deal larceny.
Yeah.
Now, it is obvious that that is something that really cannot be fixed.
Because of the corruption in the police service.
Okay. So are you saying then that it is likely that the police do know who is stealing these vegetables?
Yes. I believe to myself 99%.
Okay.
That the police, some of the police are actually involved.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah. Well, that needs to change, definitely. This is why we need the community type police.
Yeah.
So we need to clean up the
Policing.
police service.
And clean them
Clean
up.
up the police service. Get some proper investment in agriculture so that we can have the safeguards and the security for your crops. And have community policing. There's a lot of things need to work together clearly to support farmers.
I'll give you a next story, true story. This happened maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. One person down by us, I won't call the name on the live. Their type of farming was animal farming. They had 11 cattle, right? 11 cattle. And when they get up in the morning to come and see the cattle, you know what they see? 11 heads.
Ooh.
The people come, chop off the cattle, kill the cattle, chop off the head, skin the cattle, and go on with the cattle. 11 animals in one night. That is over 100,000 or more you lost in one night.
And things like this when you report it, I'm guessing it goes
nowhere.
Nothing happening at all. It's really, really sad.
I have a question from Lisa. Is it Lisa or Lessa? I guess she would tell me after. I always wondered. I see her on my Facebook. I think it's Lisa. I have a question. Are we teaching and involving the young kids in school in growing foods like we did in our days which started with red beans?
I do think so.
Is that still happening?
There's a school that that takes you to La Puerta, through the back by where the church is. There's a school there, and they have a piece of land. A small little lot. And it was very interesting. I saw 2 students with a hose. They were watering, their crops. And the other day I saw okra growing on that piece of lot. So, but I didn't see other children. I just saw this boy and this one girl. None of the other students were present. And I think that should become part of the education curriculum, where children should be taught to grow food so they know what to do.
There was a school that I visited once, and they actually had their own backyard, like the students, their recess and lunch, when they finish eat, was spent actually tending to their
crops.
Little crops, and apparently they won prizes for best. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember I was in such awe, and I was so taken aback that these children were so involved. And it's not that they were being forced to do it. I think it's just that they were encouraged to do it. Whereas right now, there's not really that focus or encouragement again.
I remember when I was going to school, we used to have rabbits, we used to have goats, we used to have sheep, we used to have our kitchen garden, and all of these things, and we learning from planting the seed to reaping the crop. In school, I don't think it have anything like that right now, because most schools, when you look at the school, you don't see any farming or anything, you don't see no animal pens, nothing like that. The government, I'm done with agriculture in this country. And it's only, I believe, deep down in my heart, only if the Progressive Empowerment Party come back, get a chance to govern this country, we will become a food productive country in a short space of time, because all you have to do is plant the seed, Plant the seed, it will grow.
And exactly that, we just need to plant the seed,
because
plant the food.
When I look at Dubai, I remember the Sheikh of Dubai used to say, build it and they will come. Build it and they will come. And we've seen it when Dubai put out a plan, a model of something that they're going to build, like when they was going to build the Palm Island. That's the model before they even started construction or laying one drop of sand in the sea. It was sold out. So if the Progressive, I believe if the Progressive Empowerment Party gets into government, we'll be food sustainable in a very short time, 6-7 months a year for the most. We'll have thousands of, zabuka trees, avocados, breadfruit. Look, Mr. Philip, all this information is shared in the public space. I never knew that breadfruit brings down the sugar level and control the sugar levels in your blood system, So much things we could do as a country to get away from this oil and this natural gas thing, but we need people with a vision.
And I'm glad you segued into that. The world is turning towards green, clean, wind, solar, alternative energy, and we seem stuck in this boom
oil
and then depression phase. And I've been hearing, there are 2 things I've been hearing since I've been a child. 1, constitutional reform, and 2, that we need to diversify the economy. I am now...
That's been going on for a long time.
I am now nearing my 30s almost. And it's the same thing. Like, what has changed in the past? Nothing. And it's scary because I was mentioning earlier the World War III thing. And I mean, it's something we've been talking about for years and years. That, will there ever to be a World War III that crap was so great?
Now it's becoming more
the reality is, and I feel like we kind of going through like this in a state of a state like we're in a
trance.
trance, like, oh, you know, this country's bombing that country, food prices might go up, you know, ooh, this might be World War III, but in reality, if this is another world war, and a subject I love to study in school was history, and they literally show you how history repeats itself. World War One started with some drama. What resulted? People did not have food, prices went up. World War II, same thing. What do we honestly think is going to happen if a war were really to break out? And what would really happen to us? Where 0.4% of our economy, of our GDP is from farming and agriculture, and where we are importing $5 billion a year in food. That is madness. We will literally be the ones having to jump fences and and rob farmers.
Yeah.
Clearly, we are not doing enough to sustain ourselves, and that is a really scary thought.
It is. I think too that, you know, one of the things that happen to farmers is flooding.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if they were to go into the aquaponics, that whole trauma of losing all your crops to flooding and so on is over.
Yeah.
Right?
The solutions are there, you know.
I know the solutions are there,
It's
but like
frustrating.
nobody is doing anything about it, and we need to have, you know, the powers that be to start thinking that we need to start doing something, because, you know, we really cannot afford, you know, to be caught in a situation, and you know, like how some people just wait and they wait and they wait, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it has finally arrived, and everybody's walking around headless because they don't know what to do or what, you know, how are they going to pay for food. So I would like to encourage anybody watching us tonight to start your own homegrown vegetable garden. Potatoes, carrots, baigan, you know, green peppers, whatever, because you might end up having to feed your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we really need to start looking at those sorts of things, really, and it doesn't take that much. Because someone was saying, you know, there are lots of YouTube or even on Facebook, you see these videos where they're growing like potatoes in a normal plant pot.
Yeah.
You don't need no big setter, you know, equipment or barrels or anything like that, right? So we need to start thinking along those lines.
One of the main crop that most of the people from my area in Barapa is growing right now is cassava, because cassava has a demand on the open market.
Okay.
Because they use it for, well, mostly cause making cassava chips and plenty of things.
So those things don't get stolen?
Well, cassava is a very hard thing to go and teeth.
Well, yeah, 'cause you have to-
You have to dig it out. You understand? So it's a very hard and difficult crop to reap. So to teeth it even will be more hard, because if they have to teeth it, you have to go in the night to teeth it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So you don't really get people teeth
People
their
don't like
cassava.
hard work.
Yeah, they don't like hard
I was
work.
about to say you have to be really dedicated to want to go and steal.
Steal cassava. Yeah.
Oh dear. So what is the hardest part of farming for you?
Well, the hardest part,
The hardest thing.
what do you mean, work-wise?
Work-wise,
the hardest part
tending to your farm.
is molding the plants then, because that is a back-breaking thing. And when you put down, let me say, 1,000 or 2,000 head of sweet peppers or pimentos, and you have to go and mold all of that. That is a lot of work.
Now when you say mold, what do you mean?
Okay, when you plant the plant, right? Maybe in a week, 2 weeks time, you have to mold it up. Take the dirt from around it and keep on molding up the plant.
Okay,
So
because I have this plant
so
and
it's at the
all of a
root.
sudden it's bending to one side. And when I looked in the pot, the roots of it are
They're
exposed.
exposed, right. So you have to keep on molding, bringing up the dirt around it.
And that means you also have to dig up the soil as
Yes,
well to
yes,
loosen the soil.
loosen the soil.
And then you can mold it
Yeah.
and I think I
Well,
have to
most
loosen
people
soil as
like
well.
who are farmers and who can afford right now to plow the land or rotovate it, you will not even have to do any kind of digging to mold it. It will be easy. The dirt will be
Yes.
loose.
Yes.
But most people, since kind of 1975 closed down for whatever reason, I don't know why they closed it down. Anyway, we know why, right? Too much of teeth in. But most people sell out the farmers. The farmers. You understand? All the equipment is packed down in the backyard, rotting away.
Right.
You understand? Plenty of the farmers just park up, just rotting away because people they've been discouraged.
Yeah.
You know, they've been discouraged. You know, you work so hard cutting cane for all these years for small. Man, you going in the hot sun and you cutting a ton of cane for $32, and you had to bundle that, and then when you reach home. And you sit down and you relaxing, the farmer man coming in front, popping you on, "Ella, we go in the field, boy, we gotta go and load the bundle of cane." So your whole days be tied up, and most of the farmers, most of the cane cutters, after kind of 1975 Limited closed down, they was left on the breadline. Left on the breadline. Thousands, tens of thousands of people.
I remember as a child when I remember this was I heard this happening, and I can ask now because I didn't understand then, but there was no transition plan or anything.
For kind of 1970, nothing.
So okay, you're not cutting cane anymore. You'd be doing this, no?
Yeah, nothing. They just closed down. They just shut down the company. Shut it down, and they talk about, okay, all the farmers, then they will give them 2 acres of farming land, and they will give them a lot of residential land. But what is the sense you giving the people the land and you're not bringing in any equipment to help the people them to develop the land?
Yeah.
You're not putting lights, you're not putting water, you're not putting roads.
Yeah.
You can't get chemicals, you can't get seedlings. Because you have 2 acres of land to plant. You want to plant a lot of that 2 acres. If you go in, you're into farming, you want to plant the 2 acres when you want, you must see 2 acres of greenery,
Crops, right?
of crops. But you can't even get chemicals in the agro shops. You can't even get chemicals. Much less the seedlings.
Now you indicated earlier, of course, that you don't get any subsidies from the government.
No.
That is really sad. What do you think the government should do to help the farming industry? If you, let's say, got into power tomorrow, and we put you as Minister of Agriculture, what would be some of the initiatives that you would bring to the farmers?
Well, first of all, I will look at all the registered farmers first. I will bring them in first. Well, that's why I am so deeply rooted in this Progressive Empowerment Party because of the policies. I mean, the first thing, if I'm Minister of Agriculture or Minister of Food Production, the first thing I do a food index. See how much potato, how much cucumbers, how much sweet peppers Trinidadians will use on a daily or monthly basis. And we bring in the farmers, okay, what you want to grow, and you give them, you supply them with everything. I mean, when somebody going into a business, like right now, we can't go to the bank to get any foreign exchange or anything, US to buy anything. But if the government supplying you with everything, we bring in the people, okay, we need 20,000 pounds of potato on a monthly basis. Can you produce that? If you could produce that and you're reaching to that standard, then we give another acre of land, provide you with the chemicals, provide you with the... And the thing about it, you give one farmer that opportunity, you know how much of labor and how much of work you're going to create for other people. Because one person can go and mow an acre of potato, an acre of baigan or anything. He need workers.
That's right.
So automatically, when you open up farming back to the population, thousands and thousands of people will be employed. They will be employed. So you do a food index, you know where you want to grow, and once you reach into that standard, we keep on increasing you, yes, and we keep on giving you incentives to go forward.
Not only that, I think you need to have quite a few inspectors to go and see what people are doing with the land. If you've been given the land to do X, Y, and Z, and an inspector comes and see you doing ABC, then,
Obviously,
you know,
Yeah, shut.
You had to deal with
shut
it.
down here.
right? I came across an article that spoke about the Shagaramas farmlands. What are you familiar with that
No,
project at
no.
all?
No.
Because it was saying that they got a couple $1 million as well as PCS nitrogen for
That,
their
are you
farmland.
talking about the mega farms?
Yeah, the mega farms.
Well, right now,
Shagaramas.
well, I think the last thing I heard about that is that they closed it down. Yeah, I think some of those farms was closed down because they said not producing the crops
Mm-hmm.
to make the money that they spend. But I don't know. I don't know if I have the wrong information. But I think I heard that the government never really started that project. Was the World Food.
Okay, one of the UN
Yeah,
organizations.
that they funded those mega programs, and now I believe that most of those programs are shut down. They're not planting anything.
Well, I know PCS Nitrogen is still doing their farmland projects, because I went there one day to do a course in learning how to grow your home vegetables, and I mean they have a really fabulous spread there.
Yeah.
And what they do is, from what I understand, is when they pick the vegetables and so on, they sell it to staff of the company.
Only staff.
Only staff. And people who go there to do the various courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone just said, what has destroyed farmers back in the days? Basically, everyone grew the same produce, which feeds into what you were saying.
Yeah.
If we had a food index, we knew what we need to plant and in what quantities. I mean, it makes no sense all of Trinidad and Tobago planting tomatoes.
Correct.
Then
Tomatoes choke right
we in the markets and all this is
tomatoes. Yeah. Yeah. So
how much choker we could really.
Exactly. So you need to do a food index.
Yeah.
You need to do that. You need to do that. And the farmers, watch me, right now, because the condition this country in, I believe you come to a farmer right now and you tell him, grow okra for me, he gonna grow that because he have nothing else.
Yeah.
You have no opportunity or nothing else to go forward.
There's a perception that people don't want to farm because it's hard work and it's sun and...
The hardest farming work ever passed through this country is cutting cane. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people from little children go straight up. Cut cane.
I think there's clearly a stigma because farming has evolved. If you look at farming now and what it is in other countries, it's not how they make it seem here. Like if you're back in the cane cutting for massa, it's not like that anymore. Farming has evolved, and we need a proper government, to actually invest in these modern and first world methods of farming. Give the farmers their tools. So watch, give them their tools.
Yeah.
In fact, you see on some of the Facebook that speaks to like the more advanced countries where they have like huge warehouses, and you see the hydroponics, you know,
in different
and the whole warehouse is just full of food.
Yeah, you could be growing food literally up, down, sideways.
That's right. You know, we really need to, and as you say, because as the current government is not doing it, when PEP do become the next government, you know, that's something that is going to be made a priority. And not only that, you see, let's go back to the schools a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if we could get the schools involved, where the children are actually learning, right, you could have competitions. You could even have, not just in the schools, but in the community, the different
in the region,
in the constituencies. You know, you have you have big competitions, and everybody bring to see who's grown the biggest pumpkin, or the longest melanjan, or the longest cucumber.
The reddest tomato.
That's
like
right.
The school that I was telling you guys about, it happens, but just on such a small, because the school, and I won't single them out, but they were largely unfunded, and actually they were unfunded. The money they made was from the produce that they sold. So imagine if they could have gotten the support and the encouragement from a program like that, where we encourage and we bring farming, because not every child wants to grow up to be a doctor, not every child wants to be a
An
lawyer,
engineer.
not every child wants to be an engineer. Some children really, they're different and they want to be involved in these things, but we stifle them.
Look at next thing. I can't understand in this country the amount of chicken farms we have in Trinidad and Tobago, and we had to be paying $10 and $12 a pound of chicken, processed chicken, dead weight chicken. You paying up to $10, $12 a pound, and the amount of chicken farms we have in Trinidad and Tobago, where one farm, one pen is good 10, 20,000 head of birds, you know.
So where are the chicken going?
I mean,
Where are they going?
Where they going?
Because why is it we are paying such a large price or high price for chicken when you have these farms growing the chicken? So who's buying those chickens?
Well, I believe most of those chickens are sold back right here in Trinidad, but why the price of chicken is so high is because of the cost of importing the feed, the material to make the feed for the chickens. Yes, and it is a very, very costly. Remember, everything was raised. Every time budget comes, they keep on raising the taxes on importing these things. So,
and that is where they need the subsidies.
Yeah.
Subsidies to help with that. I remember there was a guy who used to have a little it was like a little shed, and he would bring his chickens and he would kill them there on the spot.
yeah.
And then he would bag it, and he would put it out on the countertop. And I remember going in and I would buy 30 chickens, a chicken a day,
Yeah.
you know, and he used to just love me.
30 chicken one time?
Yes. I would tell, I would pass and say, okay, I'll pass it back in the next hour. I want my usual, not 30 chickens. And then and it was cheap. So buying 30 chickens was nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
You know? But now I can't do that.
I see we have 7 minutes. I don't know where the time went.
Wow.
But a question I wanted to ask before we wrap up. If I wanted to get into farming, how would I go about acquiring
The land.
the land?
Land. Well, the easiest way right now is you can't go to the government, right? You can't go to them. The easiest way to get a parcel of land to do agriculture is to look for somebody who's selling a piece of land, their own private land. Because where my house situated, across from my house, it have about, I estimate maybe about 300 to 400 acres of land that used to go cane, and all it's going right now is razor grass. And you can't go and put nothing there. If you go and you start a planting, the government come and they will bulldoze it down. They will grade it away because they don't want nobody planting on the land.
Also, the land belongs to the
The
government.
government is carrying the land. It's carrying the land.
Right, okay. As you say that, a friend of mine was telling me today that some real estate agency is selling a couple acres of land. And they want about $22 million for this.
Wait, agriculture land?
It's supposed to be agricultural land, but the thing is, what people don't know is that the pipes, the gas lines are running through the land. So you can't go and put up no housing complex on top of the pipes.
Yeah.
No.
You see, and when she was saying that there were people who were asking questions about this property, and no answers were forthcoming. They wouldn't tell you who owned the land, one, right? And then of course they wouldn't answer the question as to the fact that you do have the pipelines running through the land. So you now go in your ignorance to purchase this land, and next thing you just left with it. You can't do anything with it. You see?
Sad.
It is very sad, very sad. And again, there is going to be, when the PP comes into government, there will be a proper system which will deal with the giving out of land, having inspectors coming to check to make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to be doing, right? The subsidies in place to help farmers buy the different feeds and the chemicals and whatever else.
Yeah.
But you know what I would like to see is more of the organic planting to be done.
Yeah.
let's try and ease ourselves away from the chemicals.
Yeah.
Because one of your comments, when you pass a store with vegetables in the country, they would say to you, you'll say to yourself, I wonder if those vegetables would be the type that he would feed his family, because I understand that what he feeds his family is not what he sells to the public.
Yeah.
So that, you're kind of in between terms. Should I stop? Should I stop? Should I stop? Look, here what? Let me go to the supermarket, huh? Oh dear. Well, Derek, it has certainly been a pleasure having you on Frontline. You have educated our viewers and our PP members with this whole thing on agriculture.
Yeah.
And, please feel free to continue putting your questions on the live so that at least we can go back and take a look and probably address your questions when we do our next show next week, Thursday. I would like to invite members to tell their family and friends about our regular meetings, employee screening for the job seekers and housing initiatives. Every Saturday from 12 noon at 19 Stanmore Avenue, Port of Spain. Come and add your voice to the frank and open discussion and express your opinions. Executives of the party will be there to answer any questions you may have. I must tell you, last week Saturday, the cottage meeting that we had here at 19 Stanmore Avenue was absolutely awesome.
It was. That open mic session.
Yes.
It was intimate, it was cozy, it was like people, it felt like a real open mic session. We have to definitely do more of those for the rest of
and
the year.
I think people felt comfortable being able to stand at the mic and ask their questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to a cottage meeting and nobody wants to say a word.
True.
But ours was very interactive.
Once the ball got rolling, people were, I remember I came inside, when I looked outside, I saw people were good, making their contributions.
Correct.
It was lovely.
Don't forget that you can become a volunteer and can serve on any of our committees or teams that include the National Executive, Constituency Executive, Constituency Representative, Youth Arm, Gender Arm, Security Team, or Events Committee. Why do we want you to volunteer, or why should you volunteer? We believe that citizens should have a say in how they are governed. So we invite persons to volunteer to serve within our organization and help advance the vision and the mission of the PEP, one people under one flag. The Progressive Empowerment Party is a volunteer organization that depends solely on the contributions from our members to keep us funded. Our goal is to contest the next general elections, which will require significant funding. The PEP is guided by principles of transparency and accountability, and we assure you that your generosity will be used solely for the advancement of the organization as we work our way towards a better Trinidad and Tobago. The Progressive Empowerment Party will be working for you and to ensure that no citizen is left behind. Become a financial member. This Saturday, 21st of April, we will be having a cottage meeting which is going to be held at JRD Conference Center, 34 St. Croix Road, Princestown, from 2 p.m. Bring your family and friends to add your voice again to the conversation. We will be talking about our policies and solutions to issues plaguing Trinidad and Tobago, also providing you, the public, with information. Thank you once again, Derek, for taking the time to come onto the show for this year.
I do want to add, I have to add, this Saturday we're also giving out our drum roll first batch of membership cards. So come out this Saturday and get your membership cards. I know you all have been waiting on it. We have been working very hard on it. The design is gorgeous. See you on Saturday to come and collect your card. If you haven't paid yet, you can pay on Saturday.
We would like to acknowledge all our members and thank all of our viewers. To those of you who are on the road, please be safe. Good night.
Good night.